Ravens playoff coach on there. I got one of your other playoff teams, Super Bowl teams.
Oh?
Jordan Love.
Oh, J-Lo? J-Lo?
J-Lo. I'm adding Jordan Love to the Bud list. Not loving it.
Not loving it. I
Not loving it. And this is why. I get it.
Greg is
seven,
you
7 and 3.
Little bars.
You're 7 and 3, and everybody's kind of glossing over the idea that since the divisional round game against the 49ers last year, and those 2 interceptions, the last one being a pretty poor interception in a decision on your part, you've thrown an interception in every game you've played in, buddy. And we've been glossing over it because your team is continuing to have success. You're 7 and 3. You're still within striking distance of being able to catch Detroit. Will you be able to do it? We shall see. But the story of your season last year was in the first 9 weeks, you were a roller coaster, interception machine. But the last 8 weeks, you turned it around. This was what it looked like. When we show you your numbers, it was ridiculous amounts of interceptions on the first half. But then in the back end, it was much cleaner football. 18-1, this is comparison to this year. Look at the numbers. This is what you're doing. 70% completion percentage last year, 62%. But go down to the touchdown interception, because that's the issue that I'm having with you, Jordan Love. Last week's game, you threw a bad interception. Wilds, you said this, and I'm running with it. You were probably the first quarterback to go full Levis this year, after Levis showed us he was going to be full Levis, because he is Levis. You were the first quarterback to do it. You can't keep doing that. If your team is going to be able to be what Brew believes that you can be, a Super Bowl contending team and a representative of the NFC, you have got to play cleaner football. I believe in you. I'm calling you out now because this week, guess who you have? You have the 49ers, the team that started your wheels to fall off. Yeah. Now you can reset, bolt those wheels back together, and drive over those 49ers and play clean football.
That's good. I appreciate the motivation. J-Lo, not J-No!
Thanks, bro.
You set me up for that.
Yeah, you did set him up really well.
Okay, let's talk about this. So listen, I think Jordan Love, and I talked about this weeks ago, I guess at this point, Jordan Love is such a baller that can literally just do anything on the field. It's quite remarkable. I don't think people really understand that until you watch him play, that the dude is just kind of a beast in his own right. That's why he throws these interceptions. I think he struggles because they talk about how, and Drew Brees has talked about this, which I've highlighted specifically with regards to Jordan Love, about how, you know, as a quarterback, you have to take calculated risks. You have to understand, you have to be essentially like a gambler in a way, right? You have to understand when is it time to make that throw, and what type of throw is needed, right? All those types of various things. And that as you get older and mature as a quarterback, you realize, all right, I'm not going to take that chance. I'm not going to make that type of throw. And that's something that you have to just get more comfortable in. And sometimes it's a decision. Sometimes it's a bad read. And sometimes it's just a bad throw. I'm way more forgiving of bad throws because bad throws just happen. Like, it's just guaranteed to happen. When you're throwing the ball that many times throughout a game, a career, a life, or whatever, you're going to have bad throws. Just the way the world works. And that was his interception last time against the Bears. It was just a bad throw. So it's like, no big deal. Again, those things happen. It can be frustrating when it happens, and sometimes it can happen at really bad moments. But it's like, if you're expecting a quarterback to never have a bad throw, it's like, you know, then you probably never played sports yourself. It's going to happen. It's an absolute positive guarantee. Making a bad read is a guarantee, but you want to try to minimize that, of course. And same thing with bad decisions. But that's what leads me to this more than anything, is that the bad decisions are the ones that you can have the most amount of progress, I believe. Because once you reach a baseline, in terms of being able to read defenses and not get fooled by defenses or whatnot, as well as having your mechanics pretty sound, right? Like sometimes a bad throw just comes just no difference than Steph Curry missing a three. It's not because his mechanics are all off. It's just sometimes that's the way it goes. You're going to miss a three. You're going to miss 5 threes in a row. But in terms of your decision making, that's especially comes with maturity. And I think with Jordan Love, it's just going to be a bit of a learning curve with him because the dude can do everything. I think it's a very similar thing that you see with Josh Allen. And the benefit that Jordan Love has is that Josh Allen didn't have is a great offensive mind. And that's why Daboll was able to minimize some of the turnovers from Josh Allen, and now to a large extent as well, his current OC Brady. And that's the benefit of having Matt LaFleur. So a lot of his turnovers, at least decision-making turnovers, I really put on Matt LaFleur to a degree, to be able to help support his quarterback in minimizing his opportunities to make some of those decisions and to more clearly define who to throw the ball to, when, and how, which is, again, that is what a good offensive coordinator or offensive coach is going to do for no matter who the quarterback is. That is really the fundamental principle of their job. So it's not necessarily exclusive to Jordan Love. Jordan Love just has the luxury of having a great offensive mind. Now, again, it's not to say that Jordan Love obviously gets no blame. He obviously is to blame for some of these interceptions as well. But it's just that's what I'm looking for more than anything. And that's why the week's interception, I actually I kind of toss it away. I really do. Obviously, you don't want it to happen, but I toss it away. It's like, okay, whatever, bad throw, but no bad decisions. Like that's what I'm saying. Like there was no bad decisions. I want to see him continue to minimize those bad decisions. That's what I look for from Jordan Love. So if anything, if you want to put him under duress in the sense of continue to make the right decisions, the right reads, the right game management decision. That's what I'm looking for more than anything. Bad throws will come and go. Obviously, if he keeps having bad throws that lead to interception, then it's like, well, what the heck is going on? Is it a mechanical thing? Is it, him being too mobile and making throws in a way that he shouldn't be throwing, right? Like off his back foot, whatever it may be. Then that would also probably be a coaching thing to be like, hey, we want you to minimize this. You're no longer doing these types of things. It's all a moving target. It's not this set in stone type of thing, which in a way is a good thing. It can both be beneficial and hurtful depending on honestly how you want to look at it, because the way how I see some of his interceptions, I see them more as something that can truly be corrected through either him just understanding and maturing, or just coaching a different approach to how to address this problem, rather than it just be like, hey, he tried to go deep and his ball, he just didn't have enough under it. He can't make that throw, so of course it's going to be intercepted. Or he thinks he can do things that he can't. That's what I see with Baker Mayfield. That's why I've always been hard on Baker Mayfield. Baker Mayfield thinks he can do more than he can, and because he thinks that, he gets himself in trouble. He thinks he can make the throw. He can't accurately assess his strengths and weaknesses. And I've talked about this especially a lot, is that it's so important to understand, to have a really honest understanding of who you are as a player, what your strengths and weaknesses are. The more deeply and intimately you understand that about yourself, the more successful you're going to be. If I know I'm really slow and not strong, and that if I get banged up a bunch, I'm going to be worse in the third and fourth quarter, well, then I know, okay, I need to avoid that in order to put myself in the best possible situation and help my team out. I got to avoid that situation. If I know my strength is the long ball or whatever, well, then I'm going to rely more heavily on that. I'm going to make that a more part of my game. So it's like, you have to understand the strengths and weaknesses of yourself. And again, his interceptions are not because of a fundamental weakness. If anything, it's because of an aggression and because his ability to make those throws and do those plays. So he just needs to learn, just because you can do it doesn't mean you should do it. They talk about this in weight training a lot with power lifters, strongmen competitions. It's like, just because you can lift 500 pounds for 10 reps every single day doesn't mean you should. Doesn't mean you should. You got to be smart and strategic. Sometimes you'll lift 500. Sometimes you're going to lift 400. Sometimes you'll lift 500 for Monday, Wednesday, Friday. And other times, you know what? We're not going to lift at all. Like it's again, like most things, it's a push and pull type of thing. And so I think that's kind of what Jordan Love is continuing to figure out this season. And I think it's just part of a process. I think there's certain quarterbacks in the NFL that when they're growing and learning and getting better, whether they're rookies, sophomores, whatever, they need to work on their arm strength. They need to work on their mechanics. They need to work on their ability to read defenses. They need to work on their ability to go through the progressions. Like there's all these things that they need to kind of get developed, right? They need to be more patient in the pocket. They need to know how to move in the pocket, right? They need to know, all those little things, little big things, whatever. And that's how they kind of develop and grow. This aspect of Jordan Love's game seems like people are less forgiving in terms of like, well, this is his process. This is what he will continue to learn and grow and evolve, which will then take him to that next elite level. Like right now, Jordan Love, you can make the argument he's a great quarterback. Maybe if you want to be really extra harsh on him, you could say good to great. This is part of his evolution, of his growth, that if he now does overcome and fine tunes, well, then he becomes elite. Then he becomes top 2, top 3 quarterback in the NFL. And if you're expecting him to be able to just casually do that, no one just casually becomes an elite top 2, top 3 quarterback in the NFL. It's a process. It takes a second. It takes some refinement. That's the way it works. So that's why I'm more forgiving for this specific drawback of his game. I'm way more forgiving of it, just like I was for Josh Allen. So that's why. And again, you want to see him correct this. You want to see him reduce turnovers. Like that's a given. And I think he can because he's already shown his ability to do it. So that's why you got to get to the source. Why are some of these interceptions? Why are some of these throws being intercepted? Is it a bad throw? Is it the wrong type of throw? Because sometimes it's the right decision, but it's the wrong type of throw. Is it a bad read? Did you just get fooled by a great defense? That's just the way it goes, right? Like you have to figure it out. And that's why not all interceptions are treated equally. They're just not. And we already know that that's true to a degree when we see certain interceptions that are like obviously not the quarterback's fault. Like it just bounces off the shoulder pad of the wide receiver. People can obviously conceptually understand that very easily. And even Chris Collinsworth talked about how like the statistics need to start to represent that, like they do in baseball, how they have like certain errors and earned run average and stuff like that. It's not all the same thing. Football should do that, but I think it would probably the box score would end up be more lengthy, and it would open up the door for, I guess, many other stats that would just, I think, would be too hard for people to consume on a regular basis. So that's probably why it is. It's easy to say 4 touchdowns, 1 interception. That's easy to understand. But if it was like 4 touchdowns and a half an interception or something, I don't know. I think it could be too complex for the average sports talk show consumer. But even with that said, each interception that is still the quarterback's fault can still be divided into many different categories. So the way how I see some of his interceptions, I'm like, that's fine, actually. Like, this is actually good. He's too aggressive. We got to pull him back, which is ironic because Nick Wright has actually ripped Jordan Love for some of these mistakes. And yet, now he's saying about Caleb Williams, he's not aggressive enough. And actually, I would like to see him throw more interceptions because that would lead to more touchdowns. He believes that the coaches, which is not correct, by the way, that the coaches are trying to pull Caleb back and be less aggressive. And that's why he's having some of the issues that he's having, which, again, I disagree with. But it's just funny that that's where his logic goes. But then when talking about Jordan Love, it's like, this is a problem. He turns the ball over and, this, that, and the third. So ballers are always going to ball. They're going to turn the ball over for certain times. The reality is that when you see some of these other turnover, interception happy quarterbacks who just don't get to that next level, it's because they lack the fundamental abilities to do that. So they turn the ball over because, again, they think they can they're either regularly getting tricked by defenses or they just fundamentally think that they can do something that they can't, right? And so they take these chances that they see, hey, I actually have a 70% chance at succeeding here. And it's like, no, you don't. You are not as good. You do not throw that accurate ball enough times to actually make that a legitimate 50-50 ball. When you throw it, it ends up being a 70-30 ball, not in your favor, because you don't deliver it enough. You don't do it enough times accurately. So the odds are not in your favor. So we got to get you to stop doing that. That's not where Jordan Love is. So that's why his interceptions are not as concerning to me. Hopefully that all made sense. It's definitely a little bit more complicated and a little bit more mathematical, especially without being able to show you like exact examples of like the types of things that I'm saying. But I don't think there's anything to be too panicked about. And like I said, I just think this is part of his process of growing and becoming that next level top quarterback in the NFL. But those are just my thoughts. I'd absolutely love to hear yours. What do you guys all think about Jordan Love and his turnovers and just his overall quarterback play this season? Let me know in the comments below. I read every single comment, so whether you agree with me or disagree with me, either way, let's get in some discussions. Let's get in some fights, but ultimately, let's just have some fun. And please do consider subscribing. We are building an amazing community here, and I'd absolutely love to see you part of it. I want to build something that we all genuinely feel connected to, something that we're really excited to be part of. I think we're well on our way to doing it. And please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, as it really does help with the visibility and the algorithm. Thank you so much. See you next time.